You've worked hard to build a valuable business. You're growing revenue, and on paper, things look solid. But when it comes time to sell, many companies are shocked to learn they're worth far less than they expected, often because of hidden risks and issues they didn't realize buyers care about. In this episode, we're unpacking the true CEOs don't want to hear, the most common reasons businesses sell below their potential value, and the real drivers behind valuation and risk assessment. Hi, I am Tim Fitzpatrick with Rialto Marketing, where we believe marketing shouldn't be difficult and it definitely shouldn't be guesswork. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. I am super excited to have John Kaluzniak with me from Kaluz Consulting Group. John, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig into this with you today. Before we kind of jump into the heart of what we're going to talk about, I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions, help us get to know you a little bit.
Sure.
You ready to jump in?
Let's go.
Okay, man. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time?
Hunting and fishing, man. I'm an outdoorsman and I just love to be outside hunting and fishing.
Cool. And with fishing, lakes, streams, both?
Oh, I'm a river fisherman. I love to fly fish, and my favorite species is the salmon running in the fall.
Okay. Very cool. I love it. What's your hidden talent?
My hidden talent is, seeing clarity through the mess. I like to keep things super simple, and I like to think I'm a simple guy and able to see the way to the end.
Yeah. You and I are very similar in that regard. It's very easy to overcomplicate things.
Yep.
But that gets in the way of actually implementing and executing effectively, in my experience. So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
It dates back to probably 20 years ago. I had a boss, and his advice was, if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
It's just simple. It's the simple stuff, right?
Yeah. What does success mean to you?
Success, it means being able to help people and be able to grow my business.
Cool.
It's that
What
simple.
about your happy place? Where's that?
I belong to a sportsman's club in Baldwin, Michigan. We have a 1,000 acres up there, and just being able to spend a weekend up there. And I was literally up there yesterday. It brings calm and gives me a great feeling. So that's my happy place.
Yeah. For those that don't know, is a club like that kind of similar to a country club from a standpoint of like you pay membership dues to be able to access all the facilities and amenities? What is that?
Exactly. We have 7 or 8 club cabins up there. So you book time in a cabin. We have a kitchen and the dining room. So you eat together. It's special. It's really a special place.
Yeah. Very cool. What qualities do you value in the people you spend time with?
To me, this is easy. Honesty and integrity. If you don't have honesty and integrity, I'm sorry, I just don't have time for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, John, tell us more about what you're doing at Kaluz Consulting Group. Who are you working with? How are you helping them?
So I'm working with small to medium-sized businesses, and specifically businesses that are struggling to, figure out where next month's revenue is coming from, or next quarter, or even next calendar year, or they don't really have a plan. And there are so many of them out there, but people have to admit they need help and be willing to have a conversation, and that's the area where I thrive.
Yeah. Do you focus on sales and marketing? Do you focus on one or the other more heavily? What does that look like?
So I do touch on marketing, but in reality, I'm a sales guy, and it's not always about revenue. Some people say, let's grow the revenue, and we can do that, and that's important. But sometimes it's equally as important to have an established system so that engine, if you will, that revenue engine can act independently of an owner. Somebody gets hit by a bus tomorrow, you want to know that the process is there and it's going to continue to function.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on a call last week, and this is in the managed service provider space, but there's a lot of M&A activity going on in the space. And for the first time since I've been involved in the space, it's starting to come up that a lot of the acquirers are really starting to put a heavy premium on growth engines, whether it's sales and marketing engines being in those businesses. Previous to this, they're just acquiring revenue. And now they're really starting to say, you know what? We need to have organic growth. We need to see organic growth in these companies that we're acquiring. And so, those that are not focusing on taking the time to build a sales and a marketing engine are going to suffer. So I think this is a very relevant conversation, and we're gonna dig into this. First thing we're gonna dig into is the truth that CEOs don't want to hear. What are they?
Yeah, this is a great question. And first, I should say everybody will exit their business one way or another.
Yes.
I have a broker friend of mine who says, dying at your desk is a plan, probably not a very good one, but it is a plan for exiting your business. In fact, as funny as I have an uncle, that's his plan, unfortunately. But the truths are 70% of businesses listed for sale will never sell. 70% will never sell. 20 to 30% of those businesses who get an offer won't close on that offer. The deck is truly stacked against the person trying to sell the business. It's like a battle of titans, right?
Yeah.
It's the guy who wants to buy your business, and rightfully so, he wants to buy it at the best price he possibly can.
Yeah.
And the person who's trying to sell the business, and rightfully so, they want to sell the business as much as at the biggest number possible.
Yeah.
Forget about multipliers. It isn't about multipliers. Multipliers is an equation.
Yeah.
It's about the total amount of money that you get for your business. And
Yeah.
and buyers are buying one thing and one thing only: the confidence that your future cash flow is predictable, transferable, and low risk.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like those 70% that list but never sell, is it because there's at least one thing about that business that just makes it unsaleable? I mean, is that an accurate statement, or what are your
Well,
thoughts
no,
there?
there can be a lot of things, right? The owner could heard that the guy down the street, Joe, who has a business that's very similar to his, sold at a multiple of 4x.
Yeah.
So he wants 4x because Joe got 4x. Well, you know what? Their businesses aren't the same.
Right.
Their businesses are completely different. And to have a realistic view of what your business is worth is super, super important. And then
Yeah.
I have a workshop, and I'll tell you the whole workshop in literally 3 bullet points. One, have a plan. Two, get your personal shit off the books. Clean the
Yeah.
books up. Nobody wants to see that. And you got to have a good track record of clean books. And then 3, and that's really where I come in, the most important thing is de-risk your revenue. Customer concentrations are bad. Big
Yeah.
winners, big losers are bad. You got to have something that is predictable, or you're not going to get the money for your business that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of the most common reasons you started to touch on this? What are some of the most common reasons companies sell below their potential value?
So the first thing is to look at the statistics. The statistics show that 94%, I was shocked when I looked this number up, 94% of the business owners have no formal transition plan at all. They may have it up here, but they don't
Yeah.
have anything written down. And if you don't have a plan, somebody will take you through their plan. I already said it: weak or untrustworthy financial records, big win years, big loss years, your personal stuff on the books, all that's going to affect the valuation of your business. And then
Yeah.
owner dependency, and whether you want to hear this or not, you got to kill the name on the side of the building, because they don't care that it's Smith Electronics or whatever, fill in the blank. They're buying the business. They're not buying the name.
Yeah.
And then we talked about over unrealistic valuations. Joe got 4x, therefore I should get 4x. Well, that's just not true.
Yeah.
Um, inconsistent or volatile earnings. So I mean, everybody had bad years in 1920, right? Those were the COVID years, and then everybody had great years in 21 and 22. Well, when your profitability or EBITDA is vastly up and down, that makes people nervous.
Yeah.
And then it happens more often than not, Tim, than you want to think about. Is there's hidden legal compliances. So and so owns part of the business, or so and so has a claim to X, Y, or Z. Those can be very risky situations if they're not dealt with properly and quickly. So those are really the big reasons why owners see their business sell below potential value.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned too was de-risking, right? And having a high concentration of revenue with one or two clients it's common, but it is not a good thing when you're selling a business. Um, one of the things
Look at it.
when I
Let
look
me
at
interrupt
it, yeah, please.
Tim, let me interrupt you. Look at it this way: if that one client who you never will lose ends up walking away from you, you're left with nothing, and
Yep.
that makes people very, very nervous.
Yep. I had a conversation with the prospect 2 or 3 months ago. 30% of their revenue was with two clients, and they lost them both because they were acquired. Right. So it
Yeah.
wasn't that they were doing a bad job. They were doing a great job, but they got acquired and the acquirer already had systems in place. They did not need this company anymore. And that happens all the time. And so I know the general rule of thumb I've always heard, and I'm curious to what you're seeing, John, is like you shouldn't have more than 10% of your revenue in any given client. What do you say to that?
That is actually a perfect. That's the number that I would have arrived at.
Okay.
Percentage with a given client. The other topic in client concentration is very important. But having worked in the business for more than 35 years, we all have winners and losers. And when we have sometimes big winners and sometimes big losers, and we justify the business as a whole, well, somebody that's coming in from a private equity or venture capitalist wants to think that, what happens if you lose your big winner? It's
Yeah.
equally as important as if you lose your major client.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too that I think a lot of owners, and you touched on this, is they are too involved in the business. Like if they get pulled out, the wheels come off in certain aspects of the business. And that is not attractive to somebody that is buying that business. Um, so you talked about having a plan, right? You can't plan to sell your business 6 months from now. Like this needs to be what, 3 to 5 year process, would you say?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of people want to think, well, I want to sell in the spring, therefore let's get busy. And I just use a little phrase: nobody wants to see lipstick on a pig. It
No.
it doesn't it doesn't work. They see right through it. I would say the sweet spot is absolutely 3 years, and if you could get 5 years ahead of it, it's even better. And
Yeah.
and be prepared. I mean, I talked to a broker friend of mine, and he'll tell you this: when they show up, they'll ask you 1,000 questions, and it's much more than the financials.
Yeah.
And to the extent it takes you a long time to answer those questions, they'll give you another 100 questions. And
Yeah.
they'll keep pummeling you with questions until you catch up. So be ready. I want to see you have a war room where you are for sale all the time, but be ready to answer those questions and have your plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even 3 years ahead of time, even 3 years ahead of time, Tim, if you know you don't have a good documented sales process, that's fine. At least you've identified your weaknesses. And when somebody comes and
Exactly.
talks to you about them, you can respond with in accord, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
You can respond to them as if you understand your business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you need 3 to 5 years to work through this because every business has problems. Nobody's perfect. And building a sales engine, building a marketing engine, they take time. if as the owner, if you're knee deep in operations and you need to pull yourself out, that takes time, and you can't work on all of these things. Most businesses can't work on all of them at the same time. So you got to put that plan together and start banging those things out, right? And get them done. Um, so plan ahead.
Correct.
Really, really important. So I think we've touched on some of these as well, but one of the last things I want to focus on are those key drivers behind valuation and risk assessment.
It's super simple, I think. And I'll give you an example. There's two companies, let's call them company A and B, right? A and B have identical EBITDAs. But B will sell for twice the value of A. And the reason is this: there are some must-haves. One, we talked about it, clean financials, predictable revenue, and have a process. Two is strong margins and diversified customers. Get rid
Yeah.
of that customer concentration. Be real careful about winners and losers because they show up. And then ultimately, you de-risk the most when you have a growth engine, transferable team, and that's a big deal. We could probably
Yeah.
talk an entire episode on having the right team in place, so that if it's all dependent upon one guy and that guy isn't the owner, that's still dangerous. And then
Yeah.
ultimately, low dependency on the owner. And they don't want to hear it, but I say you got to kill the name.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And, and, and those
One of
will
the things
those will change your risk level. When you change your risk level times EBITDA, you get your multiplier, right?
yeah. As you were sharing that, John, one of the, I believe this came from Dan Kennedy. And he said the worst number in business is one, right? One large client, one key employee, right? And so I think if those that are watching and listening to this, like if you keep that in mind, like all of this stuff really does come down to a lot of that, where it's like you don't want to have just one. You
Right.
need to be
Absolutely.
diversified. Like if they are buying additional risk, that is going to impact the valuation negatively. So the more you can de-risk things, the higher valuation you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to touch again back for a minute is strengthen your management bench. Make sure you have, as you said, more than one person involved. And I can't say it enough, document your processes so
Yeah.
that somebody else can see it. And then, lastly, I think the thing is important, and this is hard for owners to hear. Nobody cares what happened to you during COVID. They don't.
No, no, no.
Nobody cares that your kids sat and did their homework at the conference room table because you're trying to build a business. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's a buyer's job to buy you at the lowest price possible, and obviously you want the highest multiple that you can. It's a battle of titans, and it's brutal. It can be brutal.
Yeah.
So get
Yeah.
prepared.
Well, like you said, with the statistics, yeah, it doesn't bear out well, right? And so wh- the more attractive you can make your business, the higher likelihood of success you're going to have.
Yeah, and Tim, it doesn't get any better with generational businesses. I mean, if you look at handing your business down to your kids or the second generation, I mean, the statistics are as bad there. 70% of second generation businesses don't make it.
Yeah.
And of those 30% that do, half of them won't make it to the third generation.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it gives you chills down your spine to realize even in the family, you're it's not do you want to make it happen? The statistics say that you won't.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Whether you want to sell or not, what were all the things that we've talked about today are important. Doesn't matter whether you want to sell, right? It's just if you want to have a thriving business, these are things that you need to consider no matter what.
Right. And
You
the other
know,
and the other thing to leave with your listeners is, don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, I'm a consultant, and yes, consultants cost you money, and yes, they're not free, and yes, they can be expensive. but the amount of money you pay to get prepared for a sale that can generate an extra million, 2 million, $10 million for your business,
Yeah.
it's this big compared to $10 million increase in valuation or $2 million increase in valuation. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there that will help you.
Yep. Yep. Well, and look, we all have our strengths. And if something is not in your wheelhouse or your skill set, you have to bring somebody in, right? Because a consultant, whether it's somebody like you or myself, we can help bring visibility to pitfalls, to roadblocks that they can't see because it's not their thing. And that's okay.
But
But
owners think it's a weakness. The owners see it. Many owners that I've run across, that they see it as a weakness.
yeah,
Admitting that they can't do something is admitting that they have a weakness, and we all have weaknesses.
yeah, yeah. It's, you know what? I felt the same way for a long time. And then I got to a place where I shifted that. And it's like, no, asking for help is a strength. It
Right.
is a strength because you are showing, confidence, vulnerability, just saying, hey, look, I don't know this and I need help.
Exactly.
That comes from a place of strength, not weakness. So we all need help on this journey. Like nobody, and I interviewed somebody quite some time ago on the podcast that said something, that shared something that always stuck with me. And it was like, we're all trying to figure it out. Like nobody's got it nailed down. Even all these people that you look at that are, famous business people, they do not have it all figured out. We all have problems. We are all figuring things out as we go through this journey of life. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and hopefully that helps people ease people's concern, where it's like, hey man, I'm just trying to figure it out and I need help to do it.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to turkey hunt, and I have a friend of mine who's helping me. So we're gonna in April here. We're gonna go spring turkey hunting in Michigan, and yeah, we all have our strengths and weaknesses at all different spots.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about hunting for a little bit. So you're learning how to turkey. What do you normally hunt for?
So I mean, if I had one day left in my life to hunt, it would be spring turkey. Because when you're calling them and they're calling back and they come up with their fans all fanned out, it's
Yeah.
a magical thing. It's just
Yeah.
magical. I love to deer hunt. I'm deer
Okay.
hunting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have a window right over here. The deer were out there this morning. So I'm always, on the hunt, if you will. Um, Went up bear hunting one time. Bear hunting was a lot of fun in Quebec, Canada. That was a good time. But I can tell you and your listeners, if you've never had a 17-pound king salmon on a fly rod in a river, you don't know what a thrill it can really be.
That's a big fish.
Big fish on a fly rod.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can say over the last 3 years, I've snapped three fly rods on three big fish, and it was worth every minute.
uh, it's awesome. John, I really appreciate you taking the time. Any last minute thoughts you want to share with us before we wrap things up?
Tim, I want to offer something free to all of your listeners and yourself, and that is look me up. I have a sales assessment. It's absolutely free. It'll take you 3 to 5 minutes to fill out, literally 3 to 5 minutes to fill out, and it will give you a good idea of where you're at. It won't give you the blueprint, but it'll give you a good idea. And then an engagement with me to do an assessment. I have a small assessment and I have a big assessment. Just spend whatever it costs for the assessment, and at least you'll know your strengths, your weaknesses. On the simple version, I give you 5 to 7 action items that you can do now, high impact action items. And you walk away with the blueprint that if you want to do it yourself, do it yourself.
Yeah, cool. I love it. We'll make sure that all of your links they can connect with you on Instagram, LinkedIn, your website, CalusConsultingGroup.com. And I will also add to what you just said with an assessment. When you're working with somebody as a consultant, like you gotta have an assessment. Like you have to start there, because you cannot create a plan to get where you want to go until you first know where you currently are. So an assessment is an absolutely critical part of that. So, if you like what John had to say today, go connect with them, take advantage of that assessment so that you can figure out what you need to do to get where you want to go. And clarity, a lot of us talk about clarity, but gosh, like so few of us have it. But having clarity on what you need to focus on is freeing. It reduces stress, and it just lets you know exactly what your priorities are, so you know what the next step is to get where you want to go. So, John, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. Those of you that are watching, listening, appreciate you as well. You want to connect with us, you can do it over at rialtomarketing.com. The other resource we've got for you, similar to John, marketingenginescorecard.com. If you want to know which of the 9 roadblocks are slowing down your growth, your marketing engine, that's where you can do it. It takes less than a couple minutes. So take advantage of that, marketingenginescorecard.com. And until next time, take care.